Welcome to Canadian Forces Base Halifax. I'm Master Corporal English. Let me introduce you to the Dockyard climbing wall. First off, we'll start with safety procedures or precautions. If there is an alarm, we will exit the building near the nearest exit to our left and rejoin at the muster point. If there is a first aid medical injury, I will dispatch Private Lafreniere down to the front desk for assistance. I will proceed to grab the first aid kit and attend to the matter. Welcome to bouldering at the CFB Halifax Dockyard climbing wall. Let's break into some safety points here. We're at the Dockyard wall, starting off from the ground and working our way up. We have our mats. We want to make sure that they are nice pushed together and the seams are as close as possible. We want to ensure that all our climbing equipment is pushed out of the mat area and in a safety zone. Take note and reference our red line. No climber will proceed further than the red line while bouldering. Remember, every fall is a ground fall. Continue on with every fall is a ground fall. Just reference our wall here. You will note that we do not have a top-out method. One will either a down climb or a controlled fall. Let's continue on with the technique of falling. Falling technique is going to vary depending on the height that you're falling from. If the fall is from a lower height, you might be able to get away with a nice wide stance, a good bend in the knees, similar to this. If you're falling from a higher height, from the top on the red, you might have to continue with a roll onto your back. I'll bend my knees and then roll onto my back. Just note, when I fall backwards, I'm tucking my chin in as to prevent my head from hitting too hard. And now that we have the mat cleaned off, we've gone through our safety checks, let me show you some falling techniques. Walk on the top rope and let's talk safety. Let me introduce you to Corporal McDonald. He will be assisting today with our climbing. Let's talk about some safety features, starting off with the rope. Talking about our rope, we want to give a full inspection to make sure there is no cuts or abrasions on the rope. Secondly, when we are tied in, we want to ensure that there is no crossovers. Lastly, we are going to inspect the knot on the climber and ensure the belayer has a safety knot at the end of the rope. Now let's move into buddy checks. I'm going to inspect Corporal McDonald's harness, make sure everything is nice and taut. He doesn't have anything in his pockets. Going to ensure that the double figure 8 is through the harness properly. I'm going to check my double figure 8, make sure it is tied properly. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Perfect. Take a look behind and ensure there's a safety knot. He is then going to inspect. I have my harness on properly. Now he's checking my carabiner. When on belay, you want to ensure that you are using a locking carabiner and it is fully locked. Once he has verified that it is fully locked, he is going up to the belay device, ensuring that the rope is in correctly, the brake strand and the climbing strand are in the proper positions. Once that is done, he is going to ensure that the knot at the end of the rope has been tied. Let's talk about communication. So when we're ready to climb, the climber will head to the wall and confirm climbing. We'll relay that to the belayer, which will then give the response, climb on. Once the climber has reached the top of the wall, they will be looking for the slack to be taken up. They will call take, the belayer will take the slack. Once the slack has been taken, they will call got.
Climbing.
Climb on. So while Colin climbs, I am pulling in on the brake stand as the belayer. The technique I am using is referred to as the waterfall technique. I like the use of the waterfall technique while top roping, as it provides great control of the brake strand. I always have a hand in contact with the brake. One safety reminder while using the waterfall technique is to be aware of your hand getting pinched in with the belay device. Some ways to prevent a pinch is to push the hand further down. Another is to wear belay gloves. Let me introduce you to the two types of belay devices. We have our passive, which here we have a Petzl ATC, and our active, which we have the Petzl Gree. So now let's talk about the passive braking device, the ATC. First off, we're going to take our carabiner and connect it to our hard point. From there, we're going to grab the ATC, reference our brake end and our climber end. Going to verify on the rope and pull it through. We're then going to attach the ATC to the carabiner and then ensure that the carabiner is fully locked. Now let's talk about the P-bus method use with the passive braking device. I like to use this when it comes to lead climbing. I simply pull, brake, replace my hand, and cinch up my brake hand again, continuing to pull. So now we have our active braking device, the Petzl Gree. Now let's hook up our active braking device, Petzl Gree. To start off, I grab my carabiner, hooking it into my hard point. I'm then going to take my rope. I'm going to reference what literature is on the Petzl Gree. We have our brake end and our climber's end. Going to insert, close, connect the device to our locking carabiner. Now that we're locked in, we're good to climb. The active braking device with Petzl Gree is really good for new climbers to the sport. So you can tell when there's a little bit of force put on, the active braking kicks in. The lever is used to allow the friction to break and continue movement. Welcome to lead climbing. Climb on. Got slack coming up. Rolling. All right, gotcha. Climbing.
Climb on.
Following?
Okay.
Alright, now let's talk about Z-clip and how to correct it. So the Z-clip, if I accidentally grab the line from the belay end and go to connect on to my next piece of gear, you notice if I continue to climb up, the top piece is not what's holding me. It is the bottom one here. Once that's identified, I'm going to unhook the bottom off the climber side and connect it into the belay side. Alright, now let's talk about back clipping. Back clipping is the practice, or the unfortunate practice, of when I pull up the belay side with the climber side in and clip into my quick draw. Now what can happen with that is if I fall, the possibility for the protection on clip is there. So what we want to do is always grab from our knot, pull up, and clip in. That's how we avoid back clipping. And this is the end to my video submission for my CWA virtual course for bouldering, top rope, and weed climbing. Thank you. Basketball English, signing off.